It has been a long time since Fiddlesticks has been considered meta. With the jungle changes that Riot has pushed, early game junglers now dominate most of the jungle meta. Strong duelist early game champions such as Elise, Lee Sin, and Graves give little room for farming champions like Fiddlesticks. However, Fiddlesticks has become meta, but in another way. Fiddlesticks is very popular specifically in the EU region. Why is Fiddlesticks a good support? Fiddlesticks has two main strengths. One is how easy it is to push on Fiddlesticks. Darkwind is a very strong ability at early levels and can push waves very fast and cause a lot of harass damage.
And we'll see who gets it on this bottom lane.
Yeah, just follow the poke from Fiddlesticks. As long as he doesn't get poked up by Brown Q. Right now, this bounce is just nasty because Ignar has to space out, and if they don't play it perfectly, Hansama and Ignar will just kind of screw each other over. Every time Mickey uses E, you drop CS on their turret even, so it's very hard to lane this. Kabe, so confident he can even take a turret shot.
Maybe confidence, maybe a little bit of a mistake, but so far so good. Pushing in, taking control of the bottom lane, using advantage of that range support and that all too obnoxious Darkwind.
You can constantly shove and pressure the enemy bot lane with this ability. Remember that Darkwind's damage increases with the number of bounces. Using Darkwind near minion waves can cause a lot of harass damage to the opponents. If the enemy champions are positioned next to each other without minions around, then Darkwind becomes almost a burst ability. Now, if in the process of shoving this early wave you lose a trade or you're low on HP, you can drain the cannon minion and get about half of your HP back. Fiddlesticks' laning is very obnoxious because of Darkwind, but it is also very punishable. Fiddlesticks is a very squishy champion. He stays alive longer due to his drain. However, if the enemy support is a hook or damage-orientated support, if they take Ignite, it is really easy for you to get punished as Fiddlesticks. Also, as Fiddlesticks, you don't really have good escape mechanisms. Once you're caught by the enemy bot lane, you're probably going to go down to the enemy bot lane. Since Fiddlesticks invests all his runes and masteries into an offensive build, it is really easy to get punished in lane. With Fiddlesticks, you can only go deeper. You can't pull out. Fiddlesticks' second biggest strength is in his ultimate. Doesn't matter that you're a support, Crowstorm still deals a scary amount of damage. In order to use Crowstorm effectively in the lane, you're gonna need vision control of the brushes. You also generally need an AD carry who also has crowd control of her own. Generally, without combined crowd control, it is much more difficult to actually kill someone. Most of the time, you have to get creative with your ultimate. Either using your ultimate deep from the enemy side of the wall, or if you're pushed in, sometimes you gotta use your own AD carry as bait in order to draw the enemies out. Crowstorm is only really effective if you have the element of surprise. If you don't feel as if you can get a good setup in the bot lane, you can go to the mid lane instead and pick up kills there. Most people do not respect and underestimate the amount of damage that a support Fiddlesticks can do. Your ulti is a really valuable resource with a very long cooldown. Getting a kill with it in the early and mid game is very crucial to staying relevant on Fiddlesticks. Unlike most other supports, Fiddlesticks does not have a kit packed with crowd control. Most supports, even if they fall behind, still have enough utility in their kit to stay somewhat relevant. Fiddlesticks unfortunately does not have that. Fiddlesticks' gameplay is completely revolved around fear. If you don't really do damage with your Crowstorm, then people don't have a reason to be afraid of you. And if they don't have a reason to fear you, they can just completely destroy you. Playing from behind on Fiddlesticks is one of the worst feelings in League of Legends, because you just feel so goddamn useless. Remember in lane, if you're gonna use your ultimate, you and your AD carry need to focus the same person. Fiddlesticks does not have enough damage by himself in the early game to kill someone on his own. There needs to be proper communication between you and your AD carry to focus the same target. As for late game team fights, vision is extremely important to any single support. For Fiddlesticks, it's a matter of life and death, because you have to get into very dangerous positions in order to get a good ultimate off. If you use control wards or sweeper trinket, you can disable vision wards without actually hitting them. By hitting them, it reveals where you are, but by disabling them, enemies still generally feel safe enough to position in range of your ultimate. By properly positioning and using Fog of War to your advantage, you can get important picks on enemy carries. Your job as a Fiddlesticks support is to simply fear a squishy carry and blow him up with your team. Your ult combo on Fiddlesticks is simple. Flash in with Crowstorm, Fear, Silence, and Drain. This will hold down any squishy champion for 3 seconds, assuming they don't have cleansing abilities or a teammate helping them. Never ever ult in the middle of a team fight. It becomes way too telegraphed and way too easy to cancel. If Fiddlesticks' ultimate is cancelled, it'll go on cooldown anyway, and you'll basically have done almost nothing in the team fight. You have to use those small pockets of fog. By hiding yourself in small fog corners, it makes it a lot easier to get off these crucial ultimates. Knowing what small parts of the map have and don't have vision is a big part of playing Fiddlesticks. Now, there are 2 main Fiddlesticks builds. The first build is a more support-orientated build, rushing Eye of the Watchers, Mobility Boots, Locket, Redemption. This build is a lot safer for Fiddlesticks support. This build is generally built on Fiddlesticks players who fall hopelessly behind. This was the only build that was played in the LCS because this build is extremely safe. In this version, you're still useful to your team even if you don't do damage. However, for solo queue support Fiddlesticks players, almost none of them go for this build. Support Fiddlesticks players rush Eye of the Watchers into either Blue Boots or Mobility Boots. Though cooldown boots seem a lot better for Fiddlesticks players, given the fact that his ultimate is on such a long cooldown and his flash is so valuable, Mobility Boots are still more often purchased on Fiddlesticks because not only does it make it easier for him to roam, it also allows him to more quickly get into a position where he can get a good Crowstorm. First item that you should get on support Fiddlesticks is Zhonya's Hourglass. Zhonya gives you damage and it gives you the ability to waste a lot of time from your opponents. After Zhonya's, you have a few different choices. Liandry's, Void Staff, or Frost Queen's Claim instead of Eye of the Watchers. Support Fiddlesticks players still choose to go full ability power because of the fact that you still need to create fear and chaos. Even if you're not one-shotting people, you still need to do enough damage that they're actually afraid of your Crowstorm. If you somehow get to a 50-minute slugfest where you end up at 6 items, you can pick up Deathcap, Luden's, or Rylai's Crystal Scepter. As for runes and masteries, Fiddlesticks players generally go for the same thing. Flat HP seals so that you don't instantly pop in the laning phase. Ability power blues and ability power quintessences, plus magic penetration reds for the Dark Wind harass. For masteries, go 12-18-0. It is not too difficult to proc Thunderlords on Fiddlesticks if you get a lot of Dark Wind bounces. Though most supports get the mana regeneration mastery, Fiddlesticks support generally does not have big mana problems after a certain period of time. Generally speaking, you have enough mana to harass people out, assuming that you're not wasting it by draining everything. Your runes and masteries need to be geared towards damage so that you can get those crucial Crowstorm kills and begin snowballing the game. As for abilities, you should be maxing Q first, then E, then W. Terrify's duration goes up with how many points you put into it. By making the on-click fear last longer, it gives less room for opponents for counterplay. Start with E. If you're low on health, put a point into Drain. If you don't, put a point into Fear. If you feel like you want a little bit more laning pressure, you can put 1 more point into your E. And after that, put your last point into whatever ability you have yet to get. In conclusion, Fiddlesticks is a very snowball-orientated support. Pressuring early with Dark Wind and Crowstorm, getting early kills with your ultimate is vital for you to stay relevant throughout the game. When you fall behind, you feel very useless as a support. But when you get ahead on Fiddlesticks, you are every single carry's worst nightmare. So, that's why Fiddlesticks is now a meta support.